Welcome. This is exciting. The very first episode of the Bill Chun show. I've been wanting to do this for some time now. You know, between the pandemic crisis, the upcoming election, and Black Lives Matter, the world has gone to hell. There's so much negativity. I just can't stand it anymore. You know, despite all that, for many of us who are immigrants, we're just happy to be here. And I am a great example of that. So this program is about immigrants like myself. And how can we forget that this country started out from the very beginning to now with immigrants? It's all about us. That's what makes us great. But all you hear right now, between all the technologies and social media 24/7, all you hear is negativity. We have these timid, incompetent politicians and pompous and narrow-minded political pundits, and the public, dangerous, perhaps with the right intention, but still very dangerous. But for millions and millions of us who are immigrants, we are so grateful to be here. How could we not be grateful? What I wanted to do was start with my story, and then I'm going to bring on guests to tell us about their stories from all over the world. Tonight, I have an amazing young woman from Brazil who will be sharing her story. But let's get right to it. I want to talk about how I came to be in this country. Back in '72, when I was 10 years old, I first heard from my mother that we are coming to America. She said we have to be patient because we had to wait for what's called visa. We were being sponsored by my grandparents who was already here, and we had to wait. It could take 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months. For us, it took 2 years. When I first heard of it, I just knew it was going to be great. Now, at the time, I didn't really know if I was poor or wealthy, but I knew what I knew. I was raised in a one small room, which was used as a bedroom, as a dining room, gathering room. It was big enough for 5 of us to sleep. It was big enough for us to eat on a small wooden table. That's what I knew. And if I had to use a restroom, it was an outhouse. So for the first 12 years of my life, it was a hole in the ground where I would squat, and when I'm done, I would use cut-up newspapers. Afterwards, I learned to wash my hands really well. For one, my hands were black. For another, I was told because of infection maybe, we had to wash our hands really well. And maybe once a month, if I'm lucky, I would go to a public bath. And that's how I grew up. But a few times I've seen American TV programs, I saw, wow, big houses, cars, highways, grocery stores, and the way they were dressed, so fancy. And I'm told that's where I'm headed. So I was eager. 2 years later, spring of 1974, during early morning hours in April, we left for the airport. At the time, I didn't really know why. Why, when we are leaving for another country, why are we kind of sneaking away? It made sense much later that I think what was happening was at the time, we were running away from some of my father's associates because at the time my father really didn't have a job, but he was one of those low-level thugs, I think. And perhaps we owed some money. Because of all that, we were running away. And here, my parents in their 30s with no education, just a few suitcases and few dollars, were coming to America. And you know what? I remember getting on the plane, and when I was served food, I remember eating everything they gave to me because it tasted so good. Heck, I've never been on a plane, but the food they gave me was so good. Little did I know, now I know when you travel by plane, you shouldn't eat so much because right before we landed, boy, I vomited everywhere. And I am sure all those flight attendants had things to say. But you know what? Me no English. I didn't understand what they say anyway, but it was fine. Just a few days after, we landed in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I remember our first apartment. It was a public housing, 1-bedroom apartment. It had bathtub, shower, and a toilet. That meant I didn't have to squat anymore. And I could actually take a shower. To this day, you know what? I appreciate sitting on a toilet. Even after half century, I appreciate what I have right now. My showers usually last just a few minutes. Why do I need to take long shower when I take a shower every day? Because I remember taking a bath maybe once a month. I am one of those immigrants, even after 50 years, appreciate my humble beginning. And what has this country given me? Aside from 5 amazing kids of my own, this country has given me a purpose. I, as an OBGYN in this amazing city of Boston, I have a great job. I get up every morning. I get to deal with all of my patients. Many times a month, I get to bring a new life into this world. That's my purpose. That purpose I would not have been able to achieve had I stayed in my homeland of Korea. This country has given me opportunities. And despite humble beginning, I like to think I made the most of that. And there are millions and millions of immigrants who feel the same way. So despite what is going on in this country, with all the wildfires, floods, hurricanes, protests, Black Lives Matter, all the bickering between politicians, we, immigrants, we think this country is so great because our immediate little world is so different than where we come from. And many of us have not forgotten. And that is why we immigrants and immigrants Americans will continue to be productive part of this country. So in 1974, in the beginning, I was thrown into into school in downtown Cincinnati. Shortly after, summer vacation came, and before I turned 13, I had my first job. At age of 12, I was working at a gas station, Exxon gas station in 1974. This was when unleaded gas just got introduced. Gallon of gas cost 50 cents. Pack of cigarette cost 50 cents. School lunch cost 50 cents. And here I am, just month after coming to the United States, I had my first job. During weekdays, I worked at that particular gas station. And on weekends, Friday and Saturday, I washed dishes alongside with my parents. And you know what? Since then, I've never stopped working. It's opportunities. As a little boy, working at a gas station, working in a restaurant, to other jobs in high school. And in 1980, I got on a Greyhound bus to go to Annapolis, Maryland, to be inducted as a plebe to United States Naval Academy for class of 1984. Shortly before I came to the United States, in the fall of 1973, I remember seeing Army-Navy game. And as a young boy, because I knew I was coming to the United States, I told myself, someday I will get into one of those schools. And I did that. How? Hard work, persistence, conviction. I was lucky enough to be nominated by Honorable Tony Hall out of Dayton, Ohio, a congressman who sponsored me to enter military school. After spending 18 months, I decided that military was not my call. I eventually went back to Ohio to get my undergraduate degree and medical school degree and came to Boston in 1990 for residency training. And I've been in Boston for 30 years. What I've learned for the past 50 years is this. In this country, you apply yourself, then you can make something of yourself. I have this kind of discussion with my friends and my kids. Sometimes I think people have a hard time understanding where we the immigrants, are coming from. And I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm not talking about other Americans who are stuck in poverty and perhaps the vicious cycle of public housing and food stamp and whatnot. It's hard for people to break that cycle and make something of themselves. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us who've come from such humble beginning. Maybe it's poor part of Uganda. In my case, poor part of Seoul, Korea. We've come from places with very little. And when you come to this country, guess what? You apply yourself and you are given opportunities. It has been the case for myself, and it has been the case of my guest tonight who will tell her amazing journey from Brazil. And you get some education, perhaps you get married, you get to have kids, you get to buy a house. It's American dream. This is true for so many of us from Asia, Africa, South America, European countries. Millions and millions of us who don't really care what current president is saying, what his challenger is saying, and what people are saying about mask, no mask, because we are all busy trying to live out American dream for us and for next generation. Because we are all optimists. When you come to this country as an immigrant, we are optimists. The glass is half full, not half empty. And over, that has been the case. And it is so important right now to acknowledge our experience amongst us and with others who will hear us. Why? Why not? Why should only negativity rule when we say otherwise? And it is so important that we keep up our attitude and never forget where we come from so that next generation of immigrants will continue to flourish and contribute to this country. I, as a male OBGYN in just north of Boston, I have a busy practice. And I joke and say, as a male OBGYN, I'm usually not the first choice. Women, particularly in this specialty, would prefer female providers, if not probably white male providers. And I say, you know what, I'm the fourth choice, which is fine. I must be doing something right because I have a busy practice where it's just by word of mouth. And I have patients coming from over 60 countries. I think I always remember why I went into medicine. It is to help people. I remember being asked in 1980 by a dentist. When I first got into Naval Academy, there was a routine medical exam and dental exam. And I remember the academy dentist asked me, when's the last time you saw a dentist? I said, sir, I've never seen one. And he said, "You've never seen a dentist?" "No, sir." "Well, I grew up poor. I grew up in public housing. Have you ever seen a doctor?" "No, sir." I remember that. And I also remember in 74, the very first year I came to the United States, in Loveland, Ohio, I somehow managed to get poison ivy. I had no idea what it was. All I recall is having this rash and severe itch, and I would scratch myself. And because we didn't speak the language, we had no money, we didn't know what to do. So you know what my father did? My father tied my arms above my head right before I went to bed. That lasted a few days. And I somehow survived it. Somehow all this experience pointed me to medicine as a career. And I can still recall what I wrote on my personal essay when I applied to medical school. Simply, I want to be a physician to help people. And that's what I do. Which is why I am not burnt out like many physicians in this country. I don't think about what kind of insurance my patient has, whether it's commercial, Medicaid, Medicare. I really don't care. I take care of any and every patient because this country has given me education and training to provide help to people. And that purpose for me makes me just thrilled to be alive. And the way I pay back is just to practice my medicine the way I think it ought to be practiced. And there will be younger and next generations of physicians and other professionals who will all be grateful. It's like my kids hearing my story over and over. And I'm sure I bore them to death because I talk about outhouse. I talk about how growing up with no refrigerator, how living in a one room with my grandmother and my parents and my little brother, how going to public bath was a real treat. But my kids will tell you, because of all those stories, I like to think that they remain humble and they understand why they're the old man is the way I am. It's important. And I want to learn and hear from all of you about your beginning. Because I am sure not all stories are positive. I have my shares of good, bad, and ugly. But it's because of all those years I can say I have lived. It's because I have been working for 30 years. I have the experience to really look after my patients. Wisdom and experience only comes with time. And at my age right now, I feel I have both. And I want to share mine and others through you. And I really want to hear from you about your story. In short, I'm going to bring on Gabriele, and we're going to connect through Skype, and let's see how this goes. I got to put on my earbuds, and here comes Gabriele. Hey, oh, look at
Hi.
you. How are
you?
you? You look so fantastic.
Thank you.
How was your mom's birthday?
It sure is good.
Yeah?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. How are you
Well,
today?
great. And when I read your story, how at age of 29, your father died and she had 4 kids, and how she set the example by going to college,
Well,
graduating at 40. How could you outdo that? I mean, your mother, man, she
she's
reminded
a
me of my mother.
superwoman.
She is. And this is the very first episode of my program. It was very important for me to have you on because
Oh,
your
thank you.
story reminded me of myself and your mother reminded me of my mother. And so many people, especially in this country, are raised by strong single mother.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm going to tell you a brief story about you from what I read. Your father died when you were 11 months old, you and your twin sister, and you have
Yeah.
two older siblings. Your mother was 29 and from Brazil. For many listeners who don't know where Brazil is in South America,
Yes.
where main language is Portuguese,
Mm-hmm.
not Spanish.
No
And
Spanish.
and then and I think about when I came to the United States at the age of 12, then even then it was hard for me to learn the language, right? You came here at the age of 23.
Correct.
And how in the hell you managed to pass New York bar exam in 7 years? I don't know. Because for people have to understand, for example, bar exam is so hard. New York bar exam in particular. Many people have failed. JFK Jr., FDR, many governors have failed that exam, and you have passed in 7 years. And and
See?
and before then, I read about how you really persisted in learning the language in Malden, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that. I mean, you got your law degree from Brazil, and you wanted to come here, and you were told that you could practice law here, right?
Yes.
But you had to master the
Actually, I
language.
didn't want to come to the United States. I never ever wanted to learn English because, I didn't have any intention to live here. So why do I have to learn English? Now I know how important English is, like all over the world. But at that time, I was living like in my particular world back in
Hmm.
Brazil, and I didn't need English for anything. So why do I have to learn it?
And then once you decided to come here and stay, you applied to Northeastern University.
Yeah, years later.
Yeah.
Because when they decided to stay here in the United States, I just decided to stay because my brother contacted some college and he contacted Northeastern in particular, and then they told him that I just needed to do my master degree so I could validate my diploma
Hmm.
from Brazil, from back from law school, and then I could sit to take the bar exam. However, I just needed to learn English. It was only learn English so I could do the master.
Well, it's not like taking, I think the thing about law is that you had to do so much reading,
Mm-hmm.
tons of reading,
Yes.
right? And the
Yeah.
exam requires a lot of writing.
Yes. True. In
Yeah.
a short period of time because you just have like for the first portion of the exam, the first day, first portion, you only have 3 hours to do two big MPT. It's called MPT, and it's like a really big thing. It's about 5 pages each,
Hmm.
which means that you have to write about between 7 to 10 pages in 3 hours. It's really crazy. It's crazy for native speak. Can you believe it for me?
Oh my goodness. Hey, let me ask you. One of the things I say over and over to people is for us immigrants. I mean, you grew up. I'm sure your mother did her best, but still not all the opportunities like other kids. But when you come here, do you agree with me that in this country, if you apply yourself, opportunities everywhere,
Oh yeah, I
right?
am a sample of it. I'm
And
really yes.
that's
I am really.
that's I think no matter we are Brazilians, Koreans, Africans, or whatnot, I think we all agree in here, if you apply yourself, you can get to the next step. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard for us immigrants to share that with those who have been born here, who feel that there are shortage of opportunities or many obstacles. Because in my eyes, what obstacles, right? I mean, right now, theoretically, if you say, you know what, I want to go to medical school, you could go to medical school. You can't do that in Brazil or Korea. Here, you can do anything you want to because you will be applying yourself, right?
Yeah, correct.
And that is why also with everything going on with election, Black Lives Matter, everything going on right now, like you, last time I talked to you, you're about to open 2 offices, right? You're busy.
Yeah,
You're busy doing your own thing.
yeah,
That's why you don't get distracted with, okay, you turn CNN or Fox News, you hear about all this stuff. But for you, well, I got to figure out the color of the signage I'm going to have, what furniture I'm going to have in my new offices, because you are busy, because you have accomplished something, American dream. And,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
So where are your
It
offices
was
going to?
it was not easy for me to get where I am now. It's not where I want to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a long way. I am a really new attorney, as you know that. So I know that I have a long way to go through, but where I was like 80 years ago and where I am now, because
Mm-hmm.
80 years ago, I actually less than that, because I came to the United States 8 years ago, and then I was at home for like a year and a half, and then I started going to school. So it was a process. Like 7 years ago, I couldn't even go to the mall alone, and
Mm-hmm.
today I have my own law office. It's like, whoa, it's great. But it was not easy for me. It's not easy for anyone. However, opportunities are there. We just have to go and pursue every single opportunity. We just have to, believe in ourselves, believe in God, and just do it, right? So
And
nothing was easy. So I a lot of people didn't believe I could do that. I could become an attorney in the United States, but I did.
yeah.
And here I am.
So where are your offices going to be?
It will be in Woburn,
Woburn.
close to
Great.
yours.
Yes. Tell us about, so you're going to be practicing immigration law.
Yes.
So is this for people who are wanting to come to the United States or people who are already here and need certain visa or all of the above?
Um, Actually, I will be working with people who are in the United States now, and maybe they are eligible to get a green card through marriage. Maybe they are eligible to get a green card through humanitarian, like asylum, T
Mm-hmm.
visa, U visa, and things like that. But also SIJs, for example. SIJ is a special immigrant juvenile status for people who are under the age of 21 who was abused, neglected, or
Hmm.
abandoned by one or both parents. So yeah, I my focus will be for people who are here now. Some of them are in status, some of them are out of status, some of them are here for 15 years and don't have status. But guess what? They are working hard and doing everything that they can. Sometimes they don't have documents, but they are doing everything that they can.
I mean, I think your story is so inspiring that anyone who needs an immigration lawyer, they should come to you because you'll be
Thank
like a
you.
bulldog. You're not going to stop until you get it done. So I think before long, you're going to be very busy.
Thank you. So, something that I really focus is that actually I put myself in the place of every single client because I am an immigrant. I came to here when I was 23, so I know exactly. I was undocumented for a period of time,
Hmm.
so I know exactly the challenge that we have to overcome every single day. Even when I had document later on, so I didn't speak English, so what does it matter,
Right,
right?
right.
So it's really hard, and I do understand, and I put myself on the client's position, and I just want to do my best for every single client because one day I was in their position. And of course some people has a really sad story, but I want to help them so they can make a new beginning, and they will have a great future. So this is my goal for every single client.
And I think coming from you, they will all believe you that here, if you apply yourself, you can get to the next place. Really.
Yeah.
Do you have any story you want to share? Anyone who particularly really stood out, helping you, whether it is learning English or anything else that kind of stands out? Anyone in particular?
Well, I always had my family by my
Hmm.
side. My husband, my mom's a
Sure,
big
sure,
example. So she
right,
never gave up. Why should I? Right?
right.
So, and I have my husband. So all the time when I would come home crying because somebody was laughing on me on my face because of my English. So, or for any reason, it's crazy because when I'm not saying anything, people sometimes think that I am American just because
Right.
I have light skin color. But as soon as I open my mouth, they see that I am immigrant, and they ask if I'm European. European. So no, I'm Brazilian, and then so my English is still not perfect today, and I think it will get. I think it will be maybe perfect one day. I hope so. I still working on that, but sometimes they would just laugh on my face
Hmm.
because I would say a word wrong, and I would not say anything, but of course I would get sad. And then always when I got home, I was silent. I always talk too much, and but when I was silent, my husband would always say, "What happened? What happened?" And then when I told him, I would tell him what happened, and he would say, "You know what? These people only has English, so you don't have to worry
That's
about
right.
them.
That's right.
You don't have to pay attention what they are saying. So just keep going. You are learning. You are doing your best. So who cares? They just have their English. So leave them alone with their English and just go." And it's
Well,
true. At the end of the day, it's true.
soon I hope to meet your husband. You know, soon I hope to meet your
Yeah.
husband. But I think a story like yours is so heartwarming. And I know a lot of people who are wanting to, whether, I know one doctor from who was training in another country, wanting to be training here, and other professionals. And the one thing that is in common is we all come with humble beginning. When we, and I tell this story even now when I go to a grocery store. I mean, I go to fruit section and I look at all those fruit. I didn't have that growing up. So I just stare and like, wow, look at all those apples, cherries, grapes, things people take for granted. But for us, with humble beginning, we think we are in a place with opportunities. And with this kind of attitude, this work ethic, how hard we'll be working is how we contribute and make this country better. And I think all those people who laughed at you because of the way you spoke and whatnot, they'll need your service one day.
Yeah.
You're a licensed lawyer. And who are they? And
Yeah.
ignorant people are everywhere. And I tell my kids, whatever your career passion is, find it, be really good at it, and then just ignore the rest.
Yeah.
And again, you are such a great example that what I like to do is, at some point when we have our website going, I'm going to make sure you are linked. So anyone who needs an immigration lawyer, they'll be going to you.
Thank you so much.
Any
Thank you.
any words of wisdom in Portuguese for other people who may be listening? You should tell us.
Well,
Yeah, speak in Portuguese. Be proud and tell us something. I won't understand, but tell us something.
yeah. So I always say to my friends that challenges exist to be overcome.
Hmm.
So desculpa, os desafios existem somente para ser superados. We just have to overcome every single challenge. So just do
That's
it.
that's
Just believe in yourself. Pray, ask God to give you wisdom, work hard, and believe. Just believe and do it. You know, it will not, sometimes it doesn't work on the first try. So I didn't pass the bar exam on my first try, I didn't pass on my second try, but I did pass on my third try. So was it easy on the first one, on the first time? No. Was it on the second time? No. Was it easy on the third time? No. I had a crisis of anxiety the night, actually the night before the exam, because it was the third time. It was a lot of pressure, but I knew I was prepared. I knew God has promised it to me. So I knew I was doing the right thing. One day it was going to work. Even though if it was not that time, it was going to work. I was going to pass. I was going to pass the bar exam. I hope it was the first time, but it was not. It was not the second, but I needed to try it again. Otherwise, I would just be sitting here crying, saying, you know what, I didn't make it. But if you believe, if you pray, and if you work hard, you will do it. Everything will just come to pass.
Well, I am so proud of you. And I just want to thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you so much
And
for inviting me. And
obrigado.
you're great. So you know how blessed I am, just to found you and your team. So you know how I appreciate your service and your team service. So I really do, and I hope my husband meets you guys soon, because
Me too.
we are so excited to have babies soon.
Okay. Haha. Tell him I said hi, and we will see you shortly, okay?
Okay,
Ciao.
ciao.
So I tell you, her story is incredible. I mean, her mother, at age of 40, even with 4 kids, obtained a college degree and set that great example for her own kids. And believe you and me, passing New York bar exam is at another level compared to, say, getting a medical degree education, I think. But I wanted to have her on because, like I said, she reminded me of my mother who had hardly any education, but worked extremely hard from the day she landed in this country. And she has raised 3 amazing kids. And I think my work ethic is from my mother. It is interesting in that when I think about my own life, people with the biggest influence in my life actually have been all women. And, you know, my mother had me at home with no prenatal care. She was hiding the pregnancy. This was shortly after Korean War ended. So the country was in a rather tough place. So teenage mother has a boy with no prenatal care, deliver at home. That boy grows up to be an OBGYN practicing in Boston, only in America. This is why I love this country. I believe in this country, and I will continue to work hard to be a productive citizen of this amazing country. And I hope to bring other amazing immigrant Americans in upcoming series. Have a good night.